Do you guys know this feeling? You look at a watch and you appreciate it from afar. Maybe you're looking at a video or a website. Maybe you're in the authorized dealer and you notice it in the case, but it's not super exciting. You go, okay, yeah, that's all right. I'm more interested in something else, right? You think you know best. I'm guilty of that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And a lot of times I think us watch enthusiasts, we do know best. We do know what constitutes good value. We do know what constitutes a great design. We do know what we really identify with and enjoy from a rotation standpoint. But sometimes we're wrong. And I'm wrong in this instance. Today, we're going to talk about a Radiomir from Panerai. This is the PAM 00992. This is a 45 millimeter reference. It carries the wire lugs, the sandwich dial, the subsidiary seconds. It's a classic 45 millimeter diameter Radiomir. And here's where I'm wrong. In the past, with my experience with Panerai, I've appreciated the product spectrum, right? The product catalog, the lineup, but I've always been most drawn toward the Luminor, instantly recognizable from a design standpoint. Very, very cool, very robust. I love that crown locking system, the massive crown guards. I think it's such a cool design. And the last Panerai that I had was a base. It was a Luminor. It was titanium, carried the sandwich dial, carried, all the features of Luminor that we enjoy. And then it was pre-in-house days, so we had the ETA movement. That was a really fun watch that I enjoyed. Really enjoyed that watch. But man, this Radiomir, this one has changed my perspective. It's expanded my perspective on Panerai because I thought it was cool from afar, right? But I thought I knew better. No, I didn't know better. It took a week with this watch, borrowing it from my friend here in Utah, John. Shout out, John. He got one, and he was telling me about how awesome it was and how it made him not want to wear any of the other watches in his collection. And he has a really cool collection. And I was listening to him talk and going, yeah, I'm happy for you, man. Like, great. You got a good watch. You're on the watch honeymoon. Good for you. And then he's like, do you want to film it? Do you want to try it out? And I thought, yeah, I would. I like it from afar. I try to produce varied content here on my channel. I want to produce micro brand content and Swiss luxury content and German watches and everything in between. So I said, yeah. And then I've been wearing it around for the past week, and it just took a few minutes on wrist, and I went, this is stealthy good. This is really comfortable. It's not too big. I thought 45 millimeters would be too big on a Radiomir. I was wrong. I thought the wire lugs, I didn't think I'd like those as much. I love the wire lugs. In fact, this watch is flawed. It has areas for improvement. I'll touch on those. But for the most part, this watch is right in line or on point with what I think would be the best Radiomir design we're offering. It's been really good. So John, thank you. But at the same time, I should say no thank you, because now I want to spend $8,500 on one of these stupid watches, and I don't need more watches. I just want more watches, if that makes sense. I think a lot of us can relate to that. But let's touch on something, and then we'll get into the detail work. Again, this is kind of going into perspective and preconceived notions with Panerai. I've heard this frequently from other watch enthusiasts. People go, you know what? I like that design. I like this. I like that. But I wish they would just scale it down to a normal size. Why make 44? Why make 45, 47 millimeter? Why not make, 38 and 40, 42 at the most? You should never have a watch more than 42. Like, I hear these types of things. And logically, with a different brand, I think that could make sense. With my own rotation right now, I think the largest watch I have is a Black Bay chronograph. I don't think I have anything larger than that at the moment. So I think with another brand, yeah, if you like 40, if you like 39, you like 41, stick at those sizes. You know what's best for you there. But when it comes to Panerai, no, you want to go larger than what you would normally do with a different brand, because that's Panerai. It's an instantly recognizable design that's meant to be enjoyed on the large scale. It's not about practicality. It's not about timing something to the second or even, reading the time to the minute. You have no minute indexing on a Panerai watch. It's a different brand and it's meant to be enjoyed differently. And you look historically at some of their military releases, you look at what's made this brand popular, what's garnered it a cult following, and it's not 40 millimeter watches or 42 millimeter variations of their designs. No, it's 44, 45, 47. It's the big watches. And surprisingly, they wear really well for being large, dominant watches. So I would say, really, you might think you know best when it comes to Panerai, but try them on, see them in person, and go larger than what you would normally do in a different brand. I think you'll get the most enjoyment. You'll experience the brand to the best degree. You'll get their design DNA the way it's intended. So go 44, 45, 47, depending on if you're going Luminor or Radiomir or whatnot. You'd be surprised you can do it. Now, that being said, let's talk about this specific watch and what makes it exciting, what makes it compelling. Then we'll talk about areas for improvement as we wrap up the video. So we have here is Patina steel, as Panerai calls it, which, I don't know, you look at the case and you see no dominant or discernible finish. There's no high polish. There's no beautiful circular brushing. There's no, granular matte texturing. No, you don't see anything. What Panerai does, I understand, is a chemical process, and they age the steel. They take the finish away. So you look at this, and again, it's just existent. It's nondescript. Your eye's not drawn toward a polish or a particular finish. It's just there to highlight some of the other design elements like the wire lugs, the sandwich dial, the shape of the crystal, the diamond screw down sign crown at the 3 o'clock position. And because it's so nondescript, it really accentuates some of those other areas. And I think more importantly, as you wear and use this sports piece and you garner scratches and hairline wear marks and dings and dents, the love and wear that happens with wearing sports pieces, you're not marring something that's been finished to a high degree. Like you're not marring high polish finish, or you're not scratching brush work. So it's gonna age well. It's going to look appropriate. Your eye's not going to gravitate toward the hairline wear mark because it'll kind of disappear and go into the nondescript Patina steel. So I actually really like the Patina steel. So much so I'm fawning and fumbling over my words here. So bear with me, guys. I'll try to get it back together here. But let's talk about the movement. We have an in-house movement. You can see it through an exhibition case back. This is the P5000 caliber. And really, it carries a very large size that appropriately fills the back of this substantial sports piece. So you don't see a porthole type exhibition case back in this tiny little movement in a massive case. No, it's a big old movement, and it carries a dominant 3/4 plate that honestly might be a little bit too dominant. You just have this very industrial brush finish. I think it looks beautiful, but it's not classically beautiful, right? You look at some other designs, there are some other brands from Switzerland and Germany that really do a good 3/4 plate with the decoration and whatnot, and it's a work of art. This, I wouldn't say is a work of art. I think it's attractive, but it's big. Just so you guys can see that, it's very big. And then we have 146 different components. We have a free-sprung Glucidor balance set in 2 different anchoring positions there. That's nice to see. We have an Inca Block Parachoc shock absorber, and we have 192 hours of power reserve held in twin barrels that you can't see because, again, that dominant plate that's obscuring the majority of the movement. I mean, it almost looks like a closed case back to a degree, right? Just because of the shape and the architecture. And then rounding out the specs, we have 21 joules and a 3 hertz beat frequency, or 21,600 beats. every hour. So that's the movement. It's very well dialed in. And again, I mentioned it earlier, you're not timing something to the second. When you're setting the time, if you want to get it perfect, you have to wait for the minute hand to be on an hour marker, just so you know exactly where to set it. If you're trying to set the time and it's 8:43 p.m., you're going to be guessing a little bit there. But yeah, guys, I like this watch. I love the sandwich dial. The lume is incredible. I love the fact that we have heat treated hands. So in some lights, they're dark. They almost disappear into the black dial. And you only really notice the warm tone of the lume. And then in other lights, they're very blue and they're shiny and reflective. And you see the heat treated element. And they're exciting. They're very, very beautiful. So I like the blued hands. I like the diamond crown. I like the action of the crown. And you're going to have to like it because when you wind this watch, you've got to wind it quite a bit to get that full 192 hours of power reserve. You could go over a full week wearing this watch without having to wind it or let it sit, in the safe or on the desk. And it's going to keep power for that duration. You're going to have to wind it, though, to get that power in the twin barrels. So great piece, great style. The wire lugs, you actually, when you make a strap change, you have to unthread these two screws. You pull the wire lug assembly out of the case. You pull them apart. You have two L-shaped sections. You put a strap on one end. You fit the two pieces together, you put it back into the case, and you lock it into position by screwing down the two screws. It's kind of a more involved process, but it just adds to, it adds to the model. It's a really surprising, really fun model that I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed. It's a different brand, and this is a different model from what I'm used to, what I thought I would enjoy most in a Panerai. And I hope maybe I've broadened your horizon or perspective on Panerai. I just encourage you, try one on if you can. Go to an authorized dealer, put it on wrist, and try a few different models. Go a little bit larger than what you normally do in a different brand. I think you'll be surprised. Now, that being said, what are the areas for improvement with this watch? Just to wrap up the video, the big one is the fact that we need anti-reflective treatment. We need it badly. In fact, I had kind of a difficult time photographing and videoing this piece in certain lights because the reflections were so mirror-like. And that's distracting. I want to see the sandwich dial. I want to look at the blued hands. I want to look at the details of this watch to a better degree of clarity, unobscured by reflection. So I don't know if that's just historic, if it's a cost-cutting move. I don't know what it is, but we need some good anti-reflective treatment on this crystal. The next thing is more subjective, but if we look at the face of the watch, you guys can see a subsidiary seconds on the 9 o'clock side, on the 3 o'clock side in form. We have some fancy text just designating this as an 8-day. And I don't know, you guys know me. I'm not a fan of superfluous text or text for the sake of being present or tradition. And I recognize this is just visually balancing out the subsidiary seconds. It's the same size, it's the same form. So aesthetically, I get the reason why it's there. But perhaps something to consider is to do a circular power reserve indicator complication. Because again, we have 8 days of power reserve. It would be nice to know what day you are in that 8 days. If Panerai was able to do that in a circular manner, I think that could be really cool. Another thing, maybe just do the sandwich 3 and put the PR indicator in the back in that massive space of the 3/4 plate. That could be really cool. I know some other brands are starting to do that, like Grand Seiko, and I believe Panerai has done it in the past, but it's not been common. I could be wrong on that. There's a lot of watches and references going around my head. But guys, awesome watch. Changed my perspective. Really enjoyed it. Thank you to John, or no thank you to John, because now I want one. And I want too many watches. Too many watches, not enough time, not enough in the budget. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Reach out with questions. Maybe I didn't convey something very clearly. Place those in the comments. I'm happy to try to help out if I can. Hope you have an awesome day, and see you in the next video.